Morning sunlight spilled across the manicured lawns of Westbrook Heights, a sanctuary for the rich where problems were buried beneath layers of privilege. Towering hedges guarded the Hale estate, a mansion of white columns and sprawling terraces that whispered of old money and unshakable power. Inside, Margaret Hale adjusted her cream cashmere coat in the mirror. At 54, she wore her wealth like a second skin, tailored elegance, quiet grace, and eyes that hinted at battles fought behind silk curtains. Her phone buzzed. A reminder, Hale Foundation board meeting, 10:30 a.m. She slipped on her sunglasses, unaware she was driving straight into a storm that would shatter her carefully constructed life. By noon, Margaret was gone. Her black Range Rover was found hours later near an abandoned industrial park, a bleak stretch of cracked asphalt and rusting warehouses. The vehicle was locked. Her designer handbag sat neatly on the passenger seat. Her phone was missing. At 4:17 p.m., her stepson Dylan Hale received a call that froze his blood. $3 million. Cash. No cops. Wait for instructions. The voice was cold, distorted, and final. Detective Sam Carter surveyed the industrial lot as twilight bled into the sky. A 17-year veteran of the Major Crimes Unit, Carter was lean, sharp-eyed, and methodical. A man who believed every lie left a fingerprint. He circled the Range Rover. No signs of forced entry. No blood. No drag marks. Everything looked deliberate. Looked staged, muttered his partner Lopez. Or smart, Carter replied, scanning the ground. Whoever planned this wasn't sloppy. At the Hale mansion, Carter met Dylan and Sophia, Richard Hale's children from his first marriage. Their father's sudden death 3 years ago left his fortune in Margaret's hands, and whispers of inheritance wars had since floated through every socialite circle. Dylan paced the marble foyer, jittery, wringing his hands. Sophia sat like an ice sculpture on a velvet chaise, scrolling Instagram with bored detachment. They said no police, Dylan blurted when Carter introduced himself. They always say that, Carter said calmly. But you called anyway. Why? Dylan hesitated. Because I don't trust them. Who's them? Carter pressed. Dylan's jaw tightened. I don't know. But Carter saw it, the flicker of guilt in his eyes. The ransom email arrived that night. Drop $3 million in unmarked bills at mile marker 45 on Route 9. Midnight. No cops. Cyber forensics worked fast. Within hours, Carter's team traced fragments of metadata back to a VPN purchased with Dylan Hale's credit card. When confronted, Dylan crumbled. Yes. Okay. I sent the emails. His voice cracked as tears rimmed his eyes. But I swear to God, I didn't take her. Why, Dylan? Carter asked quietly. Because she controls everything? Dylan spat. Every dollar, every property. My father built that empire, and now I have to beg her for scraps. I thought, if I scared her, she'd pay and leave. I get what's mine. You tried to extort your stepmother. Carter's tone was flat. Yes, but I didn't lay a hand on her. I don't know where she is. So Dylan was guilty of fraud, but Margaret was still missing. If Dylan didn't take her, who did? Carter dug deeper. Margaret's financial records revealed offshore transfers totaling $6.2 million over the past 6 months. Funds routed to a shell company in the Cayman Islands. Then came the phone records. Late-night calls to a number registered to Julian Cross, 41, an ex-military contractor with a criminal past, fraud, illegal arms brokerage, a dishonorable discharge. Julian wasn't a random contact. He was a ghost from another life. It was nearly midnight when Carter and his team descended on a remote lakeside cabin, flashlights cutting through the dark. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and deception. And there she was, Margaret Hale, alive, sitting by the fire in a cashmere sweater, sipping tea. Beside her stood Julian Cross, his stance protective, his eyes cold steel. Detective Carter, Margaret greeted, her voice calm, almost relieved. You've been reported kidnapped, Carter said. Missing, she corrected softly. There's a difference. Margaret's confession unraveled like silk threads soaked in poison. 3 years ago, after Richard's sudden death from a supposed stroke, Margaret discovered anomalies in his toxicology report, traces of arsenic. Her private investigator linked it to a chilling truth. Richard had been murdered. By whom? Sophia Hale. Motivated by greed and independence, Sophia allegedly poisoned her father slowly. When Margaret confronted her, the threats began. Anonymous texts, veiled warnings. Stay quiet or you'll follow him. Terrified, Margaret turned to Julian for help. The plan: fake her kidnapping, siphon part of her fortune, and disappear. But Dylan's amateur ransom scheme collided with her plan, dragging everything into the open. Sophia's motive was clear: eliminate her father, reclaim the empire. Dylan's? Desperation and entitlement. And Margaret? She just wanted to live. Sophia was arrested for first-degree murder and conspiracy. Evidence, emails, bank transfers, poison purchases, painted her guilt in neon. Dylan faced extortion and obstruction charges, his trust fund life reduced to cold concrete walls. Margaret, though technically guilty of fraud and filing a false report, avoided prison by surrendering millions and testifying. The trial was a media circus. Tabloids feasted on every sordid detail: the poisoned patriarch, the jealous stepchildren, the fake abduction. On the courthouse steps, Detective Carter summed it up. What started as a ransom case unraveled into a story of greed, betrayal, and survival. In this family, loyalty had a price, and everyone was willing to pay. Margaret vanished after the trial, rumored to be living quietly in Provence with Julian. Dylan served 5 years. Sophia will likely die in prison.